Hey everyone, welcome back to Playing Quietly. My name is Ryan, and today we're going to be discussing the most recent patch notes for Remnant 2. So, there are a huge host of notes in this, and I'm just going to be bringing you the highlights, the most important things. Let's just jump into it. So, to start off, my favorite change in the game so far is the Orb of Undoing is now unlimited. The cost hasn't changed at all, but once you buy it, it is going to be a permanent item instead of having to re-buy it every single time you want to respec. This is going to be fantastic for the build crafters out there. It's a really positive change so that in a game that is essentially about build crafting, it's not going to be gated by a really high price on the scrap anymore. The second note that we have here is the trait cap has been increased from 60 to 65. This is something that Gunfire Games has said from the beginning of the game that is going to be kind of an evolving topic as the game and the community progresses through things. So again, a really good change to see, and hopefully they will be raising it in the future. The next note we have here is there are no more trait requirements for your second archetype. So essentially, as soon as you find a second archetype, you're going to be able to equip it, which is another really nice change. Next up, converting mysterious items no longer requires scrap, and the Luminite cost has been lowered from 10 to 5. Next up, we're going to be talking about scrap drop increases. Breakable objects, chests, rare chests, and aberrations are all going to see an increase in the amount of scrap that they drop. Scrap is already a pretty rare commodity, especially early on, and given the fact that they have patched the infinite hand glitch, this is going to be a very welcome change. Moving on to some of the multiplayer patch notes, they have reduced the incoming damage in multiplayer from a 25% addition down to 15% per player. So for those of you guys who are really into playing with your friends, things are going to get a little more forgiving. Let's move on to the topic of archetypes. First up, we have the Explorer. The first thing we have here for the Explorer is the Scavenger and Gold Digger uptimes have been increased by 5 seconds. And the Health Fountain healing per second has also been increased. Next up, we have the Archon. The initial Havoc damage has been fixed because it was just doing way too much damage, and the overall damage has been buffed. So kind of just across the board, it seems like it's kind of been fixed. The Challenger, the Close Quarters Combat perk, will now maintain a 10% buff to all damage. Handlers are getting a buff to the range on Pack Hunter. It's going to go up from 25 to 40%. And finally, for the Summoners, the Hallows and Flyer summons are getting the base health buffed. Alright, so moving on to weapons. This is going to be the part that people are not going to like. First up, we have the Nightfall. There's been a reduction in fire rate in both Standard and Dreadwalker forms. The devs have said that this was to bring it more in line with the fire rate and damage output of the other long gun weapons. The damage output before the nerf was quite a bit above the other long guns. I saw a number that said something like 25% above everything else. That's pretty crazy. And the one that's going to hurt basically everyone, the Enigma has seen a pretty significant nerf. Although I gotta say, I did some playtesting with this beforehand, and it's not as bad as it's going to sound. So, they've reduced the AoE burst damage of Enigma's Overload. The application was 40, and now it's going to be 30. They reduced the subsequent tether damage of Enigma, the primary fire form, from 75 to 65. They reduced the magazine capacity of the Enigma from 30 to 25. And they increased the total reserve capacity from 120 to 125. Beyond that, there's been a lot of other bug fixes, including some progression blocking bugs. So if you had something that was blocking your progression, you might want to check the list. It's probably been fixed. There's also been a host of fixes to boss damage output, some abilities that were far too strong, and some enemies in the overworld have also been tweaked. Again, there's a pretty huge list of things. I invite you to check it out for yourself. I just wanted to bring you guys a quick breakdown of the major things that I saw. All in all, there's a lot of very good positive changes in this first update, and the speed with which this update came out shows that Gunfire Games is really listening to the community and that they care about our game. All right, that's going to do it for now. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Again, if you found this video entertaining or helpful, hopefully I've earned your subscription. We will see you guys next time. Have yourselves a good one.